MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Well, it's wildfire season, smoke heavy in the air. How to protect yourself? Just ahead.
I'm Joe St. George in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Coming up, we take an in-depth look at offshore wind turbines. How might your vote in this midterm election impact the development of projects like this?
Use some onshore wind right now, blowing in a different direction.
Right.
Look at the smoke hanging over the mining city. The smoke rolling through the buildings here. Just not a healthy situation in southwest Montana right now.
You can smell it in the air, and you know that it's bad then.
Yeah.
You could see it a little bit last night as I was heading to bed, that smoke rolling back in. Air quality overall is poor across southwest Montana. Right now sitting in that unhealthy range for Bozeman and Butte. Dillon sitting in unhealthy for sensitive groups. Here's the positive. I'm watching Hamilton because they've been persistently the worst air quality in the region. It's starting to go down, which means that wind's probably beginning to shift. So we'll be watching that throughout the morning and, of course, give you updates online, on air, wherever we can. Temperatures into the 50s and 60s. We are watching a frontal boundary slide back through the area, and I think that that's going to be at least the beginning of the relief. It will take some time to get this through. We're talking mid to late morning showers and then clearing into the early afternoon for most of the area. So hopefully we can see something other than smoke in our skies. You can see that smoke and haze out there. Temperatures today, much more pleasant. We're talking 70s for daytime highs for today. Unfortunately, the smoke is our biggest issue for the morning.
Right, thank you, Matt. 6:31, our top story stays on topic. Wildfires continue to impact different areas of Montana. First responders urging people to take extra caution. TN's Cade Mentor learned from Fire and Emergency Services how to stay safe during this dry, smoky season. Here's what he found out.
When it comes to wildfires in Montana, there's really no exact start or end as to when they occur. We are only a few weeks away from the autumn season, and as you can already see, the air quality is pretty smoky. And with these fires scattered across north central Montana, the Great Falls Fire Rescue is urging some caution.
Currently, we only have one active fire burning in Cascade County, which is the Deep Creek Fire, which is in the southern end of Cascade County. Currently, it's at about 40 acres, and it is 70% contained, but it is still putting some smoke into the air. But we do have quite a few fires burning in southern and actually northwestern Montana, which are contributing to the smoke conditions that we're seeing here locally.
The fire rescue gauges the smoke conditions with an air quality index with a numerical value of 0 to 500. And anything above 100 can potentially lead to health problems, especially for those with pre-existing conditions. Great Falls Emergency Services say they tend to see increases in respiratory issues, such as COPD, emphysema, and bronchitis.
They already have that disease process, and the smoke in the air can certainly make that worse and create a situation where they have additional issues with that.
The fire rescue said the best advice to stay safe is to simply limit exposure to smoke.
And how you can avoid that is keep your windows closed in your cars and your homes, and also just stay out of the smoke.
Shoup also urges people to take extra care of their yards and homes.
And also don't stack combustibles right up against your home, like firewood piles, storing lumber, anything like that. Just keep the areas nice and green. And remember that moving forward into the future when you plant landscaping and those types of things. You know, keep that defensible space at least 100 feet if you can, and especially within that 30-foot area surrounding your structures.
In Great Falls, Cade Mentor, MTN News.
Right, in other headlines this morning, a new report from Montana State Department of Labor and Industry claims the state's economy booming. Some highlights of the 2022 Labor Day report include 19,568 jobs added last year. That's a new record. The unemployment rate has fallen to 2.3%, the lowest ever in the state. A 6.7% GDP increase is the fastest that has grown in the state since 1980. Montana's average annual wages grew 5.9% in 2021. It's the 10th fastest in the nation. Well, investors now expect the Federal Reserve to raise interest rates another 0.75% when it meets later this month. The CME Group's FedWatch gives an 82% probability to a third consecutive increase of that size. In a recent speech, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell warned rate increases could force the economy into a recession. The Federal Reserve set a goal to lower inflation to 2%. Restaurant owners are fighting back against California's new fast food workers laws. They want voters to decide the law's fate. The law creates a 10-member fast food council that will help create minimum standards for pay, hours, and working conditions. Those standards would apply to large chains and those with more than 100 locations. And the federal government says it will reconsider more than 100 oil and gas leases in Montana and North Dakota to resolve a lawsuit from environmental groups. That lawsuit challenged lease sales conducted in the last 2 years of the Trump administration. Environmental groups argued the BLM's environmental analysis didn't adequately consider the potential impacts of climate change and groundwater. As part of the agreement, the BLM says it will do additional environmental analysis, including more on the cost of greenhouse gases, then make its new decisions on the leases. Agencies will also hold off for now on any new drilling applications on the affected lands. Federal judge previously sided with some of the same environmental groups when they sued over earlier Montana leases, charging similar issues with the analysis. Well, with the midterm election less than 9 weeks away, we're committed to bringing you the biggest issues at stake and how control of Congress might impact your life. One issue is how energy gets produced in this country. Does it involve more drilling or does it involve new technologies like wind turbines? Our Joe St. George reports.
Covering the future of energy isn't easy. At times, it even requires a boat.
2-hour ride out.
And that's especially true when it comes to offshore wind. I feel like a fisherman today. Today, we're traveling nearly 30 miles off the coast of Virginia to one of the largest federal leases to build offshore wind turbines anywhere in our country.
I mean, just impressive.
John Larson.
These are decade-long projects.
Is one of the project coordinators for Dominion Energy, who's building this. The federal government approved this as a research lease. The goal is to one day have nearly 200 of these things in the ocean, powering over 600,000 homes.
At the end of 2026, you would see a total of 178 turbines out here.
You might not think your vote impacts projects like this, but it does. There are, after all, different viewpoints between Democrats and Republicans. And that's because building and maintaining wind turbines isn't cheap. The total cost of this project is approaching $10 billion, and it's only expected to last around 30 years. Incentives passed by Congress often encourage companies to take on projects like this, which is why control of Congress matters. What do you say to the critics who say this is a lot of money, this is a lot of time, and there's cheaper ways to power people's homes?
This is the most transformational period in the energy industry since they began, stringing electric wires to bring power to people's homes. We have to have that same type of diverse generation portfolio as we move forward.
To be clear, John isn't political, and Dominion will finish this regardless who wins this year. But he says when utility companies diversify, it can mean cheaper bills for you when oil markets spike.
It takes away that volatility of fuel.
As far as the politics of this, it's not as if Republicans are completely against wind projects, although votes do matter, and not a single Republican in Congress voted for the Inflation Reduction Act this summer, which provided billions of dollars worth of incentives to build turbines. This election, many conservatives are campaigning on traditional oil and gas production in the U.S., which can be cheaper as a way to bring down the price of gas.
You don't see a lot of avian activity.
And then there is the issue of birds. Former President Trump has for years on social media railed against wind projects over concerns it kills birds. And while that is true at times, Scott Lawton with Dominion says cameras and antennas on the turbines here have yet to detect anything. Being so far offshore helps. So remember, your vote impacts how the political winds blow. Off the coast of Virginia, I'm Joe St. George.
All right, 6:38. It is that time of year again, folks. Yellowstone National Park warning visitors to watch out for bull elk. Mark says the elk mating season is currently underway, making the animals dangerous and unpredictable. Park Service rangers, you can hear them bugling right there. Rangers say people are in danger if they get too close to mating elk. Some visitors have been injured by the elk in the past.
Do not stop. Do not stop in the road. Keep moving, please.
Rangers say you should never approach or pursue animals to take a photo. Rangers advise give them room. Use your zoom. Those who have visited the park say a 300 to 400 millimeter lens offers a great combination of portability and reach to get good photos. If an elk does charge, retreat to the safety of your vehicle or behind a sturdy barrier. If you can't do either of those, then you're advised to simply run away. In other wildlife news, there are more bears than normal in Missoula this season, and they're arriving earlier than usual. Montana Department of Fish, Wildlife and Parks reports it has euthanized a handful of bears already this year. Plus, FWP says it has trapped and relocated multiple bears, says a third still in the Missoula downtown area. Trap has been set on the University of Montana campus for the 2 black bears that were spotted near the M trailhead earlier this week. James Jonkel with FWP says this amount of bear activity typical for October, but happening early this year due to lack of food at higher elevations.
There's a lot of black bears, but there are also a lot of grizzlies. We're starting to see more grizzly activity in areas where they haven't normally been. So we've got grizzly activity in around the Missoula Valley, and we are starting to see some more grizzly bear activity in the Bitterroot Valley.
Now FWP says the black bears on campus have not caused any harm to humans, so if the bears are trapped, they will be relocated. All right, 6:40, time for a break here on Montana This Morning.